All right. Shondell, welcome.
Hello, sorry I'm late.
No, all good, all good. You've got a wonderful little yellow smiley face there.
Emoji. My dog's a little bit TC's a little bit unhappy with the storms at the moment. So
Yes, I've got a little tray of snacks on my desk next to the computer, and if my head disappears out of view, it's because I'm jumping down to give the puppies a little reassurance or a little snack.
is that what you do? Feed them?
Well, it keeps them quiet. They can't bark and eat at the same time.
She just gets petrified. She's like panting like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah, oh, stick
Poor
it down
little
your
thing.
shirt, keep it close to your heart or whatever it needs to do.
Mm,
Very good. So you have the
little thing.
floor. We are recording, so please don't divulge your
Oh,
millions of dollars in crypto holdings or your personal PIN numbers or anything like that.
oh. Okay.
So
And what am I?
ask us a question, share an exciting tidbit. What would you like to chat about?
Jeremy, I don't have anything. I'm
Well, you came late and you're unprepared, right? That's it, man. You're sacked.
I said to you today I'd be happy just to listen. I'm still learning.
Yeah. What would you like to learn?
Oh, I'm still just getting my understanding around all the wording of it all and the crypto and like what it all means.
Yeah, and there's a lot of jargon. If you walk into a hospital, all the doctors speaking jargon. If you walk into a car yard, the mechanics speaking jargon. So everybody's got their own jargon, and that's one thing that used to infuriate me in financial planning. Is the financial planners would always talk to each other in jargon, and then when you go and try to explain things to the customers, the only tools you had was the jargon that you learned from your trainers and that sort of stuff. So I would actually ask, like when I was learning something, I'd say, could you explain this to me in another way? Can you explain this so my children would understand? And then they'd have to say, oh, like superannuation is kind of like a big bucket. And, you put water in the bucket and you put potatoes in the bucket, you put sausages in the bucket, and then you heat it up and you make a stew. And I go, cool. I can explain that to a client rather than saying, it's an ETF, it's a mutual fund, it's a whatever. Because if they hadn't come across those words, they had no idea what I was talking about. So that's what I would say, superannuation is a bucket, but it's locked up, it's got a lid on it and it's locked up until you hit 65. That's it. You can move the money around, you can add things to it and you can move it around, but you can't take it out until you're 65. So it's just trying to, I guess, explain it in a different way so that people can understand. But if there's any jargon that you come across, you can Google it or you can just ask. Someone will explain it to you, hopefully in a way that you'll understand. Okay. Don't be afraid to say, what do you mean by that? And if they know, they'll tell it to you. If they're just repeating something that someone else said, they'll sort of look embarrassed and look away. So,
okay. Do you mind if I just listen in today then still, if that's okay with you?
Do you have any questions that are pending at the moment?
Not at this stage. No, I'm just no.
Okay, it's going to be a short call then, because I've already had a chat to Molly, who's on the call already.
Oh, I see. Right.
We've got a couple of people who couldn't make it tonight and said they're going to catch the replay, which of course they don't get the opportunity to ask questions because they're just watching other people's questions. And there's a big thunderstorm in Brisbane. So I think there's a few people who are like, oh, I can't connect up to the internet. What if the lightning hits it? So that's it. But what else do we want to talk about? Markets are down today, if you haven't seen the news.
No.
So, there's like headlines like big flash crash in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies and all this sort of stuff. Because headlines obviously like to make things sound sensational and like to make things bigger and better than what they are, or bigger and worse than what they are to get people's attention. But I was just chatting to Jenny before and going, oh my God, Bitcoin's down by like 10%. But if you look back, it's gone back to the same price it was on Valentine's Day. You know?
Okay.
So that was only, not even 2 weeks ago. So it's not like it's a big, massive drop and it's gone from, 57,000 down to 22. Like, it hasn't gone back to where it was at Christmas. It hasn't gone back to where it was last year. It's gone back to where it was literally, less than 2 weeks ago. So there's, headlines flying around at the moment about a big flash crash, but there's still people buying for more than 50,000. So the price goes down, but the price is still propped up by it. As soon as it gets cheap, people start buying it again.
Yeah, wow.
So you don't worry about the headlines, particularly if you're a long-term buyer and holder. Obviously, if you're old enough to remember the 9/11 plane crash, airline stocks dropped for like 4 or 5 days afterwards, but then they went back up again. So, and they never went down to zero, because those businesses are obviously worth money. And there's people out there saying, oh, Bitcoin's worth nothing, it doesn't do anything, it's not like gold that you can turn into jewelry and things like that. So, but there's software out there, like Spotify is a piece of software, Netflix is a piece of software. Xero, that a lot of businesses use for managing their tax accounts and things like that. That's a piece of software. So essentially it's really nothing, but it's got millions and millions of people using it and paying money for it. And there's millions and millions of people who are using Bitcoin every day. They're either buying it to hold it, or they're buying it to transfer funds to other people in other countries, or they're paying invoices for it, or they're trading it, or whatever they're doing. So, it's just a piece of software, but it just happens to be worth $1 trillion right now, because of all the people who are actually involved in the buying and the investing, the working on the project and development, that sort of stuff. So, and gold is just a shiny rock. It's a shiny rock that we happen to say is worth trillions of dollars, but at the end of the day, it's a shiny rock. And it's not much different to stainless steel or copper or whatever else. So, yeah, sometimes you've got to ignore the headlines and look at the fundamentals.
Yeah, right.
So, now you were asking today about like diversification in your portfolio and managed funds and things. You completely understood that now? You're totally okay in it? You want to explain it to the rest of the class?
Off you go, please.
No, I'm asking you. You want to explain it to everybody else, because you understand it.
Do I understand it?
Yeah.
So is it just means that diversified is obviously there's just amounts in different, you don't just have everything all in one stock or one trade. It's all in different variations of international, domestic.
That's what Grandpa used to say, don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Yes. Yeah.
So, that's the sort of thing that you want to have. Whether you're in business, you want to have diversification among your customers. You don't want to just sell to men who are 18 to 35 or women who are 65 and older or something like that, because something can happen to that demographic. And with your investing, obviously, you didn't want to have all your money in airline stocks the day before September 11. And while COVID's making the headlines now, you don't want to have all your money invested just in the stocks that are doing the vaccines, because in 6 months' time, 12 months' time, once everybody gets vaccinated with that, how are you going to make your money? Or what if there's something else that comes out? And I think you and I had a conversation earlier about people who are invested in Blockbuster Video as opposed to being invested into Netflix, or people who are invested into Kodak as opposed to, Fuji digital cameras and that sort of things. So there's some companies who disappear. There's some coins which are going to disappear. I think when we had the 2017, 2018, like when the crypto market was going gangbusters last time, there was just over 2,000 coin projects that came onto the market, because everybody was going, oh, we're all going to get rich, going to make all these coin projects. And a lot of them were scams, a lot of them were rubbish. But there was about 2,500 that came onto the market suddenly. As of today, there's over 8,000. So, obviously Bitcoin's been around for more than 10 years. You know, it's a stayer. There's people working on it all the time. Ethereum is a stayer. You know, the ones that are in the top 10 probably going to be around for a while, but the ones that are in the, you know, the bottom 7,000 or the bottom 8,000, got no idea what rubbish is down there. But if you're diversified amongst, say, you know, 10, 15, 20 different coins, then you're going to be okay. I mean, if Bitcoin disappeared tomorrow, it's not going to change my life. I'm not going to be out, you know, out on the street begging, because we diversify into different things. It's like, you know, in Australia, we have 4 big banks. And if all of your money was in one big bank and that bank failed, you're cactus. But having said that, if that one bank failed, then all of the customers who used to go to that bank are now going to go, you know, a third to this bank, a third to that bank, a third to that bank. So if you had all 4 banks, you owned a little bit of stock in all 4, even if one bank fails, you're going to be okay, because one will disappear, but the other 3 will go up. And, you know, as I say, if Bitcoin disappeared after being on the planet for 12 years, then people are going to put into other crypto projects. So as long as you've got a handful, you're going to be okay.
So what happens if we get like another GFC, like in 2008?
Well, that's when Bitcoin was born, in response to the GFC, because, you know, when the GFC went off, the central bank started printing money like there was no tomorrow, and bailing out these corporations and giving stimulus packages to everybody. So, of course, the more dollars they printed into existence, the currency was devaluing, and we have inflation. You know, prices of things go up because you need more of this paper money to buy the same thing. And, you know, historically, we've seen hyperinflation in Venezuela and Argentina and Zimbabwe and Germany, and it doesn't end well. So the people who were holding paper currency, usually, you know, it became valueless. People who are holding scarce commodities, whether that be gold, silver, you know, coffee, oil, gas, whatever, those things generally went up in value. In Australia at the moment, we're seeing real estate massively going up in value. But is it the fact that the properties are getting, you know, more valuable, or is it just the fact that, you know, the government's throwing around all this free money so people can actually spend more and more on these things, you know? So Bitcoin is a finite resource, like silver, like gold. Ethereum is an inflationary resource. They print 4.4% more Ethereum every year. But when cash is being picked up by 12, 15, 20%, then Ethereum almost becomes a scarce resource as well. So I think, you know, hedging against that sort of stuff, if there is going to be another crash, which undoubtedly there will be, then you know, the government, this is the way they respond to things now. They drop the interest rates and they print scad loads of money. That's all they can do. They've really got nothing else they can do to prop up the economy. And when they print lots and lots of money, then obviously your scarce commodities and your finite cryptos are going to go through the roof. And that's why some of the analysts that I listen to, and sometimes you'll see it in the Fin Review and a few other obscure publications, where people are predicting, you know, Bitcoin's going to be 150,000, or Bitcoin's going to be even as high as 500,000, simply because they're just printing more and more and more money, and that's the central bank's response to things. So.
Are they not cottoned onto that then as well? Like, have they not sort of cottoned onto the Bitcoin sort of thing though? And would they not know?
Well, the central banks, really, their hands are tied, because, you know, all they can do is print paper dollars. But obviously, you've seen in the last few weeks the super wealthy elite people like Elon Musk, richest man in the world, only just bought into Bitcoin this year. You know, he could have bought it last year when it was like $5,000 or $6,000. He could have bought it a few years ago when it was $2. But he's bought in this year for a price of around about $50,000. And you've got people like Grayscale Investment Trust, who started Bitcoin trusts and put in $15 billion into Bitcoin. And there's a lot of other companies. BitcoinTreasuries.org will actually show you all of the companies who have put money into Bitcoin and Tesla is just the most recent. There are rumors that Apple is going to buy Bitcoin as well, because obviously Apple has a lot of cash just sitting around that they pay their suppliers in China and Bangladesh and all the people who supply the components and the labor. So they've got to have currencies to pay all these different people in different countries. And it becomes expensive to change money into lots of different currencies and send it away, particularly if inflation is higher in Bangladesh than it is in China and things like that. So this is what Tesla's doing, because they have to pay suppliers in different countries. Like, oh, we're just going to start paying people in Bitcoin, and we're going to accept Bitcoin. You know, when someone wants to come and buy a car, we'll accept Bitcoin from them. And it's obviously a lot less expensive for them to transfer Bitcoin across, you know, all their different suppliers. So we can see, you know, there's a lot more buyers coming into the market. There's a lot more of the elite billionaires and the smart people getting in now. Whereas, you know, 2017 rush with Bitcoin was everyone's cousin and grandma and next door neighbor and stuff was learning what the nerds had known for a long time, that this is a good investment. And it sort of got carried away, and it got carried away by retail investors, just like normal mum and dad people. But this time, the price rise is being led by billionaires, smart companies, people whacking in, you know, hundreds of billions of dollars. So it's very different, and they're storing it as a hedge against inflation and currency fluctuations. So it's really interesting. If you've been in Bitcoin for 6 months and you were in before the richest man in the world, and you were in before some of the smartest fund managers in the world. But, you know, Grayscale has launched their Bitcoin trust. They've also put in applications for an Ethereum trust and a few other coins. I think Polkadot was also in there. But, okay. It's a lot of the big banks. There's Bank of New York and somebody else, I can't remember right now. But if you check on Bitcoin Treasuries Org, it'll tell you these guys are actually starting to buy into cryptocurrencies now, hedging against inflation. So interesting times.
Very.
Different from what it was 2 or 3 years ago when it was just your next door neighbour and your cousin buying Bitcoin. Now it's the world's richest fund managers and billionaires and that sort of stuff. So it'd be interesting to see, you know, if Apple did, you know, drop a lazy $5 billion into Bitcoin, what that would do to the price.
Wow.
These guys are starting to play catch up because the nerds who got in and bought Bitcoin for $1 or $2, and all of a sudden you've got, you know, large banks and financial institutions who are buying in for $50,000, and obviously they're doing that because they think the price is going to rise. So some of these guys are the ones who are saying it could be $150,000 in the next 3 years. I'm like, cool.
Really?
Some of them are saying $500,000 in the next 3 years. I'm like, cool. Either way, I'm happy. So, happy days. You just got to put in a little bit, you know, $10 here and $5 there and $100 there, and hang on for the long haul.
Yeah, sounds like it.
If you believe in the technology, this is the way it's going. Even like the Australian Stock Exchange has changed from their, I think they started in 1985 with a computerised system, and they've had the same computerised system since 1985. And the Australian Stock Exchange is now going onto blockchain, so because they believe in the technology.
Gosh,
it's an amazing.
Fascinating. Yeah. Thank you for that.
You're most welcome. Molly, do you have any questions?
Yes, actually, because recently Indonesian government just allowed to trade crypto. So there are a couple of exchanges that pop up here. May I ask how to determine which one the exchange is the most reliable one? And how can you know the security system is good and not that kind of scamming or phishing something?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So are you talking like online exchanges where you can buy it on the internet, or are you talking where you can actually go into like the money exchange person and give them $50?
No, actually, I just checked. There are couples of companies that come from overseas, just like Luno from United Kingdom,
Yeah.
a bit from Korea, and the other are really originally from Indonesian.
Okay. Okay. I don't know Upbit. I haven't heard of that one. Not saying it's bad. I just haven't heard of it. What was the first one?
Luno, London
Luno.
Uniform November Oscar.
Okay. I haven't heard of that one either. The easiest thing is, you know, to jump onto Google and just type in Luno reviews or Upbit reviews. And you know, obviously, you know, if it's a dodgy exchange, they can pay, you know, $50,000 to run some really good ads on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. And they might even have half a dozen fake reviews, but you can't have 500 fake reviews. You know, there's going to be real people jumping in there and saying, I couldn't access my money, or this is the greatest thing ever, whatever it is. I mean, you've kind of got to use what you can. I'm not sure if you can access, you know, some of the other exchanges. Like Binance is arguably the biggest exchange in the world right now, and that's a Chinese one. But you know, a lot of people like to use that. And you know, I'm not sure if you can access it from Indonesia. And sometimes you might have to use a VPN, which is going to cost you about $5 a month.
Yes.
So you can pretend that you're not in Indonesia. I mean, when I was living in Bali, I had trouble. I couldn't get onto Vimeo, and a lot of people used to use Vimeo for live streaming and videos and things like that. I'm doing a quiet ad tonight for B1G1, and Paul Dunn used to run. He used to run all of his webinars on Vimeo instead of YouTube, and I couldn't access that at all from Indonesia unless I had a VPN and I could pretend I was in another country. So. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. You want to find out if they're reputable, and use whatever you can. I mean, in the very early days when there wasn't online exchanges, you literally had to go and meet someone, you know, out the back of a shopping centre or something like that. You meet them in the car park at midnight, and you'd give them $100, and they'd transfer Bitcoin to your phone, and you never knew whether they were going to rob you or, you know, beat you up or whatever it was. But that was the exchanges that were operating back in the day. And some of them are still operating now. You can still meet people out the back of the parking lot if you want to. But you've just got to check the online reviews and, you know, check what the fees are, obviously. You know, 1 or 2% fee is kind of average. There are some places that are more expensive. There are some places that are a lot cheaper than that. And sometimes they'll say, oh, we don't charge commission, we don't charge brokerage, but then price that you're paying is a little bit higher than the actual price. If you check on xe.com, it'll tell you what the price of Bitcoin is in your local currency anywhere in the world. So you can make sure that you're not being ripped off by paying a higher price than what you should pay. So, yeah, that's the issue. You just got to do whatever you can at the moment. So.
Okay, I will do.
So. Alrighty, Chandel's got to go. It's 7:30.
Thank you.
You can have one bonus question. I can see your face. Oh my God. How did that happen? Just see the top of your forehead.
Who?
Chandel, I can see the top of your forehead now.
Oh no, you don't want to see that.
I couldn't see you before. Okay.
See you later. Bye.
Thanks, man. So,
okay, thank you very much.
Did you have any more questions, or are you good for now?
Let me check my exchange right here, and if I have questions, I will email you.
Yeah,
mostly maybe on security things.
Yeah, if you've got a link to those ones, you can send them across to me, and I'll have a look at them. Because as I've been around the block a few times, I've seen some really good scams, and I think I know how to spot them now. So
okay.
If it's a good one, then go nuts. All right, mate.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right.
Take care, bye.